Welcome to the Cats Pod. Better week this week for the Cats overall. I am currently recording from a late Halloween party, so I'm fully dressed as Johnny Cash right now. I've got the sunglasses on, I've got some pills in my pocket, and I'm ready to just make a menace out of myself tonight. But you know who else was a menace was the Bobcats today. How'd you feel about that, Eric?
It was a good feeling to see Taylor Housewright, who obviously listened to our podcast
Mm-hmm.
and ran the damn ball.
Oh, the Cats are
Beautiful,
back, baby. Cats are
beautiful
back.
performance. Beautiful.
It was
That's all
amazing.
that's all I have to say is beautiful performance, both sides of the ball. Boy, special teams was an improved unit, wasn't it?
Oh, so much better. And that Kautzman, is that
Yep,
the new
yep,
kicker's name?
yep,
Kautzman
yep.
looked solid. I mean, he only had one field goal today, right?
Yeah, one field goal, 6 for 6, extra points, and the field goal was 42 yards. Guess what we needed last week?
What was it?
It would have made it.
It would have
That
made it.
the
He would have been in
beautiful
from there
thing,
too.
that the end of the game one, I can't remember the yardage on that one exactly. I think maybe 45.
It might have
This
been.
the kick Countsman made tonight was 42 yards, and he had plenty of leg, and he split them perfectly.
Yeah. He
Beautiful
looks like a
job.
solid kicker. It's nice to have that hopefully solidified for when the playoffs start because we're going to be in some close games. We're probably going to need some good kicking for Cat Grizz in these games down the line. So it's nice to have that shirt up.
Yeah, man. And did you hear the broadcaster talking about they had been in conversations with coaches about we've been stressing this relationship between teammates, and the coaches were saying when they told Brendan Hall they were going to let this kid have a shot, he he was happy with it. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
He still retains his punting and kickoff duties,
Yep.
but when they said place kicking was going to go to this young kid, he accepted that, and every facet of special teams is improved in my opinion. I will shut up from here on out.
Yeah. It seemed like a perfect example of the cat culture that we've been talking about all year long. Because I was also going to point out that after I think it was either after the field goal or after the initial um, one of those first extra points. Like the first person on the sideline that came over and gave Kautzman a high five was Brendan Hall. So he's
Absolutely,
definitely
it
bought
was.
into it.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
went up and he gave him a big high five. No, you're exactly right. The cat culture, I mean, if there was any doubt, there cannot be a doubt at this point. Those guys
It,
are brothers, every single one of
it
them.
it's such a solid team right now, and it's such a good mentality to have when you're going to the playoffs like that. It just shows a perfect example of why the Cats have became what they are and why MSU is what it is now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was. It's just fun to watch. It's fun to watch these guys. They're out there having fun, and
Hmm.
I think me, maybe more than you, I was a bit suspect about how hard the Cats would beat Northern Arizona. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was completely confident they were going to beat them. I didn't know it was going to be, what it was tonight.
I thought the NAU offense was going to be a lot more potent than it turned out to be.
I did
But
too. And once they put that ex-Montana quarterback in there, they woke up.
yeah,
Daniel Britt is a good player, and shame on the Grizzlies for not figuring out a way to keep him around.
yeah, I think their quarterback play has been super lacking this year, and they would love to have a guy like that on the team.
Did you
You know what I
see
noticed about another one of the quarterbacks on their team though?
what's that?
So in the pregame, they featured a picture of this kid, Adam DeMonte, and I think he's a freshman this year or a redshirt freshman, but he's important enough to have on there. But this man had the worst hair I've ever seen. He had like a weird. It was like I don't know who. I think I'm thinking of the lead character from The Little Rascals with like the middle part, and it's all like slicked back and straight. This dude had that in like a non-ironic way. It felt like. It might have been like a freshman haircut that they gave to the team, but his hair was terrible, and I was like, "This is the heir apparent. This is who you guys are looking forward to."
Yeah. I was Daniel Britt is honestly a very good football player. I was shocked when he left the Grizzlies to go to Northern Arizona last year,
Hmm.
and looking at his stats, passing 3 of 4 for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Pretty darn good. 5 for 41 rushing. Pretty darn good.
yeah.
Pretty darn good. But
What were Flores' stats like?
he was 12 of 18 for 97 and a pick,
Yeah.
and 16 carries for 21 yards and a touchdown.
Hmm.
So,
It
honestly,
definitely felt like he didn't have that rough of a game, but when you look at the stat line like that, that's a pretty rough game. Like less than 100 yards passing on
yeah,
18 dropbacks, it just feels like that is not enough in the Big Sky Conference at all.
it's not. It really isn't. And they they were under pressure all game long. Even Daniel Britt. I mean, that guy. Neither one of those guys could get away from anything. I mean, it was every player on the defensive line was back there harassing them, especially Greeby and Ben Seymour. Those two combined to make one heck of a tandem. One heck of a
So
tandem.
I was trying to make up a name for our defensive line, and what I came up with while I was watching the game was calling them the B line or the Killer Bees because they've got Brody, Ben, and Bass back there.
Yeah. Let's
You got
go,
a
the Killer
defensive line
Bees.
of Brody, Ben, and Bass, the Killer Bees on the line, and they're just destroying it. And I think when I looked, there was another B that was also on the defensive line, so it would fit like all the way down. And I was just, and it was the first sack of the game, I think, where it was Brody, Ben, and Bass all in there, and they just took him down, and that really set the tone for the entire game.
Yeah. Yeah. They were fantastic. I was so blown away with the defensive performance this week compared to last week. They
Yeah,
were screaming around the field, every single one of those guys, especially the defensive line. Those guys were animals today. Huge,
yeah,
huge improvement. Askelson is a stud. McCade
for sure.
O'Reilly is a stud. The entire secondary played about as well as they have all season, and the defensive line definitely played as well as they have all season. I'm
A lot of the
impressed,
stuff
man.
the commentators were talking about throughout the game was about how strong their wide receiver core was. And we didn't really get to see any of that until like the fourth quarter.
No, no, you're right. You're exactly right. I was As far as the defense goes, man, it's a solid unit, and all it can do from this point is get better as injuries heal up and we get
Yeah,
guys back. I'm feeling like our defensive side of the ball, our special teams, our offense is in a really good spot right now.
for sure. It was definitely a game that helped reinstill some confidence in any fans that kind of lost their confidence.
Yeah,
But we really just got back to being the Bobcats again this week, and it was really business as usual. There wasn't much else to say about it other than we attacked on the ground and that opened up our passing game, which has been the thing that was our bread and butter for the last 3 to 4 years.
no, exactly. Um,
We got
uh,
touchdowns from several different players. Um, it just seemed like a great all around game for us.
yeah, and to get to the offensive side of the ball, how about the production we get from our freshmen? Ryan
Mm-hmm.
Lonergan, the tight end, coming in for
Yep.
an injured uh Derek Snell.
Pickering and Pickering went out in this game too, and he
Yeah,
didn't even suit back up, so he might be out for maybe a couple games. It's tough until we hear more information on that. But Ryan Lonergan, a Bozeman native, might end up being a big factor on this team going into the future.
and didn't you think he looked like anything but a freshman out there?
He did not look like a freshman at all. I'm very
Exact.
surprised that
Yeah.
he's a freshman. I would not have guessed that. If you would have asked me beforehand, if he was a freshman, I would have not said that because that touchdown catch that he had, that was a legitimate guarded catch. It was a very well placed ball. The quarterback set him up perfectly, but he also had to make that play, which is
Yeah,
a tough play to make.
yeah. And as far as let's keep it in the receiving core, I think Jacob Trimble, that kid is something. You know who he reminds me of is Kevin Cassis.
Really?
He is shifty and he can absolutely explode. He's good, man. I'm telling you. I
He is
watched it with
super versatile.
he is, and he made a huge difference in this game. And he's only a freshman.
Hmm.
He's a young kid from Texas up here in Montana playing elite football right now.
Yeah. And
And
we could look at that entire team for NAU. They were talking about the youth that's on that team, but the Bobcats have just as much youth to back up the stars that they have right now. Like we are looking at a pretty bright future, even though these players aren't getting as much time now as they would on other squads.
absolutely, man. It's a good feeling to be in a good position right now. And
Yeah.
this team is young and they're firing on all cylinders. The both quarterbacks are sharp and healthy. And honestly, your guy.
Ooh,
Shout
my
him out,
dude.
Ben. Shout him out.
Oh, Orange Julius Davis had a hell of a
Let's
game
go.
today. He
Let's
was
go,
killing it
baby.
today for him. And did you see after that first goal line touchdown that he had, the look in his eyes when he sat down on the sideline?
That
Did
guy,
you see that shot?
oh yeah. All he wanted
So
was more. Just
it reminded
feed
me
him.
it reminded me so much of, this is going to be a weird reference, but Bobby Portis from the Milwaukee Bucks. It was like crazy eyes Bobby, where his just eyes are bulged out and he's just angry all the time. I was like, that is how Julius Davis runs. Like he is angry at the ground. Like he is angry at every single member of the other team. He was doing his thing, chirping at everybody after every single play. He knew he couldn't be stopped, and they knew they couldn't stop him by the end of that game.
Well, let me tell you this. This guy is a Wisconsin transfer. There is a
Mm-hmm.
reason he was at a D1 Power 5 school, and we're
Yep.
seeing it right now. He is too good for this conference, and I hope that doesn't bite us in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
This guy is a man among boys, and he showed it today. And he was
Mm-hmm.
also made a statement about last week
Yep.
that he did not get the ball enough last week. He knows it, we know it, and I hope the coaches know it now.
And by putting the ball in his hands, it leads to wins for the Bobcats. It's as simple as that.
Even when he's stopped at the goal or at the line of scrimmage, he falls forward for three. It
Yep.
is so rare for this guy to have anything less than 5 yards. He
I
is
can't
that
think of a time
guy.
where he's been tackled for loss this
No,
entire
no.
season.
Oh, I am the depth of this running back room. We get Lane
Hmm.
Sumner back. Lane Sumner is out there making the incredible blocks. You know, he didn't rush but 2 times, I think.
Hmm.
But he is an extremely savvy blocker back there, and it's really opened the door for Julius Davis and Scottre Humphrey to just hammer down.
Exactly. It's
I'm
also
impressed.
going to be big when we get Elijah Elliott back too, because that's just another killer running back. We're gonna
Let's just
have we're how
add it in.
do you just switch every single down? We're just gonna switch every single down, and we always have a fresh pair of legs, and we're like, okay, rotate one.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, it's you never have to run these guys into the ground because
Yeah,
you can keep them fresh, and every one of them is capable of busting big plays. Dude, Scottre Humphrey is a heat-seeking missile. If you give him an inch, he's gonna gash you. I mean, he had
that
that long
touchdown that he had
touchdown.
today was insane.
Yeah, and there's some bad blood between Northern Arizona and Montana State, man. Those guys were after each other, and they got into
Hmm.
a bit of a hold me back moment there at the end of the game was kind of comical. I think Scott Trey
It
Humphrey was
was
right
it was kind
right
of
in the
an
middle of
NBA
that.
fight. It was an
Yeah.
NBA fight. Let's be real. Come on,
Yeah.
like they were like nobody's gonna throw a punch here, but we're gonna get real tough for a second.
Let's honestly, Ben, do you have a complaint about today?
I have personal complaints, not about the team. No complaints about the team. No complaints about the game. Only personal complaints about me being idiot and the curse returning. That's it. I'm dressed like Johnny Cash right now, and when I couldn't watch the end of the fourth quarter because I had to drive to this costume party, and when I opened up my ESPN app and I saw the final score, and I saw that we won by 24 points, and I had 24 and a half. I was really going into Johnny Cash mode, and I was like, I hurt myself today
Yeah, that pill bottle
to
was looking
see
awful
if I
friendly,
still
huh?
feel. I was like, oh, I got to find my pills real quick. I gotta try and handle this situation because my heart left my body for a second, and I was like, I did it again, and I cursed myself. And this is why I'm not supposed to be betting. Like this is exactly it. I'm not supposed to be betting.
I mean,
But
it,
speaking
it
of like the soul leaving the body, how mad would you be if you were the coach of Northern Arizona after the way the refs treated them in the first half?
that
With like the phantom whistle and everything like that?
I'm not sure what happened there other than accidental whistle is all they would say on the broadcast. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that that's bad, man. Honestly, how can that happen? An incidental
It's
whistle on a
inexcusable.
but would it be a house call if the whistle hadn't blown right when he crosses the line of scrimmage or basically gets to the sideline there? Would he
I don't
have
know if
made
he
it?
would have made it. I don't think he would have made it to the end zone, but they definitely would have been in the red zone.
Yeah, you're right. It's
Yeah.
whatever that was, as a homer, as a biased Cat fan, that that was pretty bad. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I didn't have any big gripes with the reffing in this game. We had just as many calls as they did. There was
Yep.
we had quite a few plays get called back on dumb penalties. So there's my one takeaway negative for the game is there are some penalties that need to get figured out here.
Yeah.
Like these
Because they didn't end up impacting this game as much, but in a bigger game where it's a closer score, it's going to impact it. I remember a false start in the red zone, and then the illegal touching call on Pickering, which I didn't understand, and I probably won't understand because I'm not that big of a football guy.
and on top of that, we had ineligible downfield on I can't remember which lineman it was, and then there was the call on Pickering down there in the red zone about him being an ineligible receiver. I'm pretty sure he
Yep.
was covered up or whatever. I don't know.
Yep.
We had just as many calls as they did, and so aside from that one inadvertent whistle, I don't have any big complaints about the officiating other than you know Cats need to work on some procedural things.
Mm-hmm. I was just
As
thinking, so they need to change the name of that penalty that Pickering got today because I thought that illegal touching was something that only happened in Missoula.
yes, and
Like I
or
didn't I didn't
Deshaun,
think that the Cats would do that.
yeah, Missoula is a prime place for illegal touching, and
Yep.
unless your name is Deshaun Watson.
Oh, Deshaun Watson also, but that was illegal asking for touching.
That 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 is true. Thanks for
You
thanks
know?
for thanks for clearing that up for me.
Okay, do you have anything else to talk about? Oh, I had one more thing about this game. So Gregorak, the color commentary guy, he really is into Tommy Touchdown's hips. Did you notice that? Did you hear that call? He is really into
Yes.
his hips. He is like
Yeah.
they are so fluid and mobile, and those hips don't lie. He was talking about Tommy Touchdown like you was Shakira. When I was 14 years old, that was the same way I talked about Shakira, is the way Gregorak talked about Tommy's hips when he was getting to the sideline. And it is very central the way that Tommy runs the ball. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but I wasn't expecting that out of the commentary.
Yeah. But speaking of him, that man is a fantastic color commentator. I
He is
love
very
listening
good.
to him. He is very funny. I I really enjoy listening to his game calls.
And
I
it's really cool
just
the way he does shout out all the Montana guys. Like, we make fun of it a little bit with how jacked up he gets every time a Montana guy makes a play, but it is cool to have somebody there representing all those small town kids that are playing on this stage, because that's like the biggest stage that they have ever dreamed of playing in their life. So it is a big deal.
100%. Little side note here. Apparently, Sac State Grizzly game is rigged. The
Oh
refs
no, is it
the
rigged?
the refs are playing for the Grizzlies another targeting call. I'm not gonna
Oh
lose
damn.
my mind on targeting right now because it's not relevant to the Bobcats, so whatever. But the refs must have been listening to our podcast and knew that we picked
Hmm.
Sac State.
Exactly. And now it's 21-7.
Yeah.
6:44 left to go in the second quarter.
Yeah, and they threw that poor kid from Sac State out.
Should we go into the rest of our Big Sky picks on that note?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
You be the
So
bearer of bad news.
the bearer of bad news is that I decided to ride with those Idaho State Tigers. They had they had convinced me. I was trying to go with my family who's alumni there. I was trying to give the pick out for them. And then Weber State went in and beat them 33-21. And it
Yep.
looked a lot worse than that most of the game. It ended up being 33-21, but it looked more like a 33-7 game.
Man,
Not good in any way, shape, or form.
the when it was a good game at the in the first quarter. And
Mm-hmm.
Idaho State just fell apart, man, targeting again. And that one
Yeah.
was a blatant one. The guy was down, clearly down. It was a very late hit, helmet to helmet. It was clear
Mm-hmm.
targeting. There's no excuse to do that to somebody. So, I mean, I think it kind of started right there, and the wheels just kind of fell off.
For sure.
Yeah.
The next game here is Cal Poly and Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington beat Cal Poly 48-13.
Yeah. Did we expect anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, Cal Poly has not given us a reason to believe in them most of this year. I'm pretty sure we picked Eastern Washington, and Eastern Washington showed that they are still not a bad team. We
Yeah.
thought they were looking like they might have fallen off from the years of Cooper Cup, but it looks like they are a little bit above that mid tier. Still not really competing with the top three, but still above the halfway point at least.
Yeah, I'd say they're right. They're just mid.
Hmm.
A mid team, but they also thumped on Cal Poly. Hardcore. So,
Exactly.
kudos Eastern Washington. Thanks for giving us a dub. Next game, Idaho, Northern Colorado. Did you get to watch any of that?
I did not. I didn't get to catch any of it.
I watched that game till halftime on and off. That was a close game. The final score doesn't tell you how close that was because they started, they basically just walked away from them. But
Hmm.
up to halftime, that was a close game. And even a bit after halftime. Idaho could never get away from Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado
Hmm.
came out hungry, and maybe there was a bit of a hangover from a big old fashioned beating on the Cats that they had last week.
Hey, you're gonna say big old fashioned beat? They beat us by 3 points. Come
Uh,
on, man. It was a
But
big win for them, but it wasn't a big beat.
let's be honest, that was probably Frisco for those boys.
Yeah, that was
Because
their first go. That was their
it's
championship.
like we said on Wednesday. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's do this in the
Let's go
playoffs and
back
see
to the
what
Kibby
happens.
Dome. Let's go back.
You can you could you barely put away an 0-8 team. Literally
Yep.
defeated. They have not won. and you could only beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Exactly.
Embarrassment.
That is
Embarrassment.
that is a pretty bad game, and their offense hasn't been that potent all year. I think 27 is like the top that they can score. I think they are incapable of scoring more than that.
Yeah. Uh, you know, I think next game, I mean, we can't really do Montana Sac State yet, but I can speak for me and Ben both when I say, let's go Sac State. I put my money where my
Let's
mouth
go
is on that
Sac
one.
State for sure.
We need those
We're
guys.
gonna need a serious. We're gonna need a serious second half out of the Hornets.
Yep.
There's still 2 minutes left. It looks like we got a 4th and 10 for Montana, so they're gonna punt it. But um, it's tough without actually watching the game to know what's going on.
Can I get a stingers up?
Oh, stingers up. Stingers up, claws down. Okay, claws down for those Grizzlies Bears. Stingers up, Hornets up all day long.
Let's be
And
honest
then the
here.
last one, what's up?
Nobody likes grizzly bears. Just saying it.
Nobody likes grizzly bears. Nobody like welcomes a grizzly bear into their house. Like I could see somebody having a lynx or a bobcat as a friend, you know? Like it's just your buddy that you hang out with in the woods for a little while. But I'm
Yeah,
not going to go hang out with a grizzly bear. Like a grizzly
absolutely
bear is
not.
not a good hang whatsoever. You know,
No.
they are not fun to be with.
Yeah. Yeah. On to the next.
Last one is Montana State beat Northern Arizona. Obviously, we picked that one correctly. But then we have UC Davis and Portland State that are currently in a one-score game at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So can't really talk about that one yet, but we'll maybe we'll address that now that we're doing some midweek episodes. Huh?
Yeah, we
Something
could do a
new?
midweek one and talk about our actual pot or our actual picks and how they did, rather than telling you just half of them.
Look at us evolve here, Ben. We're doing
I
midweek
know we're just
episodes now.
dude, 2 episodes a week now. Like how soon is it that the podcasts are going to get sick of us? That's
We
what I want to
just
know. You know,
I
are
mean,
they hearing from us too much?
we just we just can't get enough. We just can't get
Yeah,
enough.
that's true.
But yeah, so those are the scores, man. Uh, one of these weeks we're gonna get them right. I swear.
We're gonna have like a perfect week one of these weeks. It's got to happen. And
Yeah,
then we're gonna gloat and it's gonna go to our heads, and then we're gonna have a 0-win week. I guarantee that's how it's gonna go. Um,
yeah, yeah,
Other big scores around the FCS. Uh, there was one major one for the Bobcats. Do you want to let them know about that?
yeah. Let's go. Let's go here. Elon knocked off Delaware. That
Let's go Tesla. Let's go Tesla. Let's go Tesla. Elon Musk, I just listened to you talk to Joe Rogan. You guys ate sardine and pineapple pizza. I didn't feel good about that, but I feel good about Elon beating Delaware. I can tell you that right now. I'm not good with fruit on pizza, but I am good with
oh
a juicy win from Elon over Delaware.
man, that was the part you're not good with? What
Oh
about
yeah, I'm
mixing fruit with sardines?
either way. I'm not happy with it. Like
Oh, I'm
not
gonna
as happy
sprinkle
as
some
I am with the
sardines on
Elon
my
college.
watermelon. No, this was
Yeah,
a huge win. Elon made, I mean, they played by far their best game of the season. And
it has
Delaware,
to be.
bye-bye. I've been shouting it
Hmm.
for weeks that you were overrated and your strength of schedule was garbage. And
Hmm.
sayonara, you're out of there. And we almost got another one. Chattanooga took Furman to the very end.
Guess who else is vastly overrated? The entire Southern Conference. The entire Southern Conference has to be garbage because I watched this Chattanooga Furman game up until a little bit into the third quarter, I think was when the Cat game actually started. But Furman and Chattanooga both looked like very sloppy, poor teams. I went into the game thinking I need to scout this, see where the strengths are for potentially down the line, and they gave me nothing to be afraid of.
Oh yeah. No, I mean if we just go down the top 25 FCS scoreboard here, we have, what we expected with South Dakota State winning.
Mm-hmm.
You have Furman, they clinched their auto bid. with that win.
Yep.
So we had that listener message. What they message? Did they message the Instagram page? I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, they said, "What do you feel about a potential rematch in the Kippy Dome?" Well, I would love that, but how about we go to Furman? You know where Furman is?
Where is it?
South Carolina. That sounds pretty good.
Let's go to South Carolina. It sounds pretty nice. That might be like escape the weather kind of a game. We get to go out and we get to see what Furman is, see what Furman's like. Maybe we can fly out for that if we get enough listener support.
Man, I'm telling you, if we get to go to South Carolina, we are going to wreck them.
Oh yeah.
That was a poor game played by two very mediocre. I mean, they might be good in their conference, but it's like what we
You
talked
you
about on
called you
Wednesday.
called Eastern Washington mid. If Eastern Washington is mid, I don't even want to know what Chattanooga and Furman is.
Uh, It's like what we talked about on Wednesday. The Big Sky Conference and the top end of the Missouri Valley are just better.
Hmm.
They're just a bit above. Like, I honestly think you could take it Eastern Washington, run them out there to Furman, and you'd have a competitive game. Because you watched the game as much as I did. It it was sloppy, slow football.
Whenever I see one of these, the teams from more of the major college football states, and South Carolina is kind of a major, but not really. Like South Carolina has had some really good players along the way, but they've never really had good, solid teams. But I would still consider them, they're like an SEC state at least. But when you watch these FCS games within these states, they look very much like high school stadiums that they play in. They never have a good fan base because everybody is always at different major college games. So it's hard for them to compete with us because they don't have any of that leverage that we have for recruiting.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just I don't see a path for Furman to beat Idaho, Montana State. I mean, I'll even throw the Grizzlies in there. They're just
Mm-hmm.
not good. They're not good enough. They don't stack up
No.
to the talent on those rosters. They definitely can't beat South Dakota State. North Dakota State, I bet, would give them a run for their money. South Dakota, who won today, they knocked off the Salukis. I love that word.
Okay. Down to the Salukis. Yeah.
And back to our Wednesday episode, we were mad about the coaches poll. You know who was ahead
Yeah.
of the Bobcats in the coaches poll was Incarnate Word, and they lost.
Yeah. They
Just
lost as
like
well today. So the
they lost
Cats are
to
going
an
to keep on
unranked
moving up a little
Nichols.
bit.
Yeah, they
Oh,
lost to an
Nichols.
unranked
They didn't
Nichols.
even lose the quarters. They didn't even lose to dimes. They lost to Nichols. How are
Barely
we
better
supposed
than
to feel
pennies.
respected? We are so disrespected. I can't even handle it. The one thing I will say about Furman that did stand out to me, they do have a very hard hitting defense. Like that was
Yeah,
they've got some boys that will tag you across the middle, legally or illegally. They
yeah.
will tag you.
No, you're right. I mean, their defense flies around. It's just they're playing Chattanooga, and I just don't see they could sustain any kind of production against any one of the teams at the top in the Big Sky
Yep.
in the Missouri Valley. It's just a different playing field.
Chattanooga
Uh,
had the worst uniforms I have ever seen in my entire life.
they are incredibly boring.
They were so ugly that I was sober, not hungover, and I still felt a little bit coming up in my esophagus. I was feeling a little bit coming up, and I was like, okay, those are really bad. Those are really bad. I can't even. That is inexcusable if you are supposed to be a major competitor, ranked 13 in the nation. That is the school that is supposed to be representing the FCS. Like you're in the top 15. That is just
Yeah,
embarrassing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and to kind of end this discussion about the rest of the FCS, you have number 11 North Dakota State losing. You have number 14 Chattanooga losing. You have number 5, Delaware, losing. You have number 8, Incarnate Word, losing. And you have number 10, Southern Illinois, losing. That is going to shake up basically behind the Montana State Bobcats. It's going to shake up the rankings right there, like pretty
for sure.
drastically. North Dakota
It's going to make
State,
a major impact. It was a pretty crazy day in the FCS in general. Not
it
so
was.
much for the Big Sky Conference, but it was a crazy day in general for FCS football.
And can we say North Dakota State is officially the worst Dakota school? And that is the first time we can say that in what, decades?
It's got to be decades. I can't even remember a time. It's not in my living memory when North Dakota State didn't have an elite program.
They lost to South Dakota State today. They lost to
Hmm.
South Dakota and North Dakota.
They have been beaten by everybody in the Dakotas.
And
That's
we
all they
only make
got.
a big deal about this because it's North Dakota State and they went on such an insane run and they put out so many NFL players. And I what they did to us in the national championship game is unforgivable. Would you agree with?
Hmm. I would agree. I
So
haven't forgot about it.
I'm sitting here and I'm happy. I'm happy to see North Dakota State be the worst Dakota team.
You've got some of that Schadenfreude going on. You're getting some enjoyment out of their misery.
It feels good, man. It's like a good back rub. It just
It's
it's
like,
nice. It's
I feel
nice.
like I'm getting a nice back rub. Shout out Chase Durnell. Getting a real nice back rub right now. Um,
Yeah.
do you have
But
anything else that you wanted to talk about this week before we close this thing out?
um you want to hit the bets real quick?
Oh, I already told like my bets are losing.
Yeah, well, your bets sucked. That's why they
My
tailed
bets
my
did suck.
bets.
Exactly. Shout out to Matthew Furman,
Yeah, let's go, baby.
fellow Western dog. He played football there at University of Montana Western. I've known him since we were super little, and he backed your bet for Tommy Touchdown to get one passing touchdown and one rushing touchdown, which I think was one of the only valid bets we made of the day.
Hey, easy now. I took Northern Arizona with the points, and the only reason that hit is because of that garbage last second touchdown, which also killed my under bet.
Yeah, my misery was your euphoria today.
And now all we need is Sac State to just pull their heads out of their derrieres
Hmm.
and get this thing done tonight because what a
All of a sudden,
way.
you're 3-3. Oh, you're 3 for 3 then. You had a perfect week then. I was thinking
Oh
you were
no,
having a bad week too,
I
but
I
now I'm
lost I
realizing
lost the
that I'm
one.
alone here. I'm alone
Uh,
in the loser cave right now, and I'm behind enemy lines right now. I'm in a bad spot.
yeah, and shame on you for going to Missoula on a Catterday. It is a
I
Catterday,
know.
Ben.
It is a
I'm
catter day, and I am
disappointed.
behind enemy lines. I am bunkered down in a basement right now. So there is Grizz fans that are trying to bust down the door, and they are going to attack me at any second, and they are going to delete one of your great podfathers. You know?
You can never trust those Grizz fans, man. You can never
No,
trust
it's
them.
tough.
They're out to
It's
get
tough.
us. They're out to get us. They can't.
Hmm.
They're not ready to surrender supremacy of the state, which we already own
I
it.
did get one major thing was said to me before I went down here to record from my main man Brad Armour, and he told us that he wanted to say thank you for the Bobcats for Bobby campaign. He was like, I think I want to thank you for wanting to keep Bobby around for as long as possible. And I didn't know how to take that, honestly. I was not sure.
And you can't argue with Brad because he's really big and he could probably twist me in a pretzel.
Yeah, that's possible. He's a big dude. He's a football coach. He knows more about football than me. Definitely, very smart dude. And I guarantee that he wants to keep Bobby around because Bobby is a very winning coach. But I like to make fun of Bobby all day long, every day. all day.
Yeah. Shout out Bobby Houck for giving us endless ammunition. You're our hero.
Endless ammunition. Oh, he's the greatest.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Also,
boom,
we
man.
need to get back on this, getting the names back on the jersey. We need to get these
Yeah,
names
dude.
on the
Come on.
jersey.
It's
Like, we got a response on Twitter about that a couple weeks ago, and they said that it was not a pride thing, but it's supposed to keep the players humble and thinking about the name on the front of their jersey. It's kind of an old
it,
school thing. It feels like, and I don't think that kind of old school mentality is what's dragging down the Grizz right now.
this thing, this what we have going with the Bobcats is the furthest thing from what you just said. It is time to put their names on the jersey. I
Mm,
mean, yes, it does make it easier for us because we don't
yep.
have memories that can remember 100 numbers on both sides of the ball. But
And now that defensive and offensive players can have the same numbers, it's confusing as hell.
it is. It really is. And bless you. And
Thank you.
it's time to get the numbers on the jersey. This team has proven time and time again that it isn't about themselves. They are about each other and more
Hmm.
specifically the team. Montana State, they ride and die with the university. Let's get the names on the back of the jerseys. Let's give
I
these
think
boys some
that I think
pride.
that I think that cat culture can survive a couple stitches on the back of the jersey.
Yeah, Leon Costello,
I'm
we're
pretty
calling
sure.
you out. We're calling
Yeah.
you out.
Go get him. Go get him. Also, I just heard a siren go by. So I think that one of the Grizz players must have just gotten called for illegal touching because the
Ah,
cops are
let's
on their
go.
way. You know?
It would make sense. It would make sense. It's like
Yeah.
2000, what was that, 2011 all over again?
Oh, it was a long time ago. But is it John Krakauer or Jack Krakauer? I don't know.
I
Whoever he
don't
is, that writer, he won't forget. He'll never forget. The
man.
worst part is I'm pretty sure everybody got acquitted in all those cases, but there still is a book about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they hardly got any punishment for it too.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Cats have a
Uh,
little cocaine ring and we get disciplined and no coach and I
just
mean it was
just a little drug ring, you know?
yeah,
What's
come
a
on,
little
man.
drug ring between friends? Like what is the
A little
problem with that?
cocaine never hurt anybody. Come on.
A little cocaine between friends, you know, it's not that big a deal. I got my pills in my pocket right now, so
I mean,
I'm here to party.
it did end in a murder charge, but still.
Oh, damn, that
Uh,
that pesky little murder charge, you know.
yeah.
Oh, so we can't act like the cats have never done anything wrong. Damn
No, I'm all jokes aside. Today was a
it.
fantastic Catterday. I wish you were here to celebrate with us, buddy.
Yeah, I wish I was there too. Um, I'm still
But
here behind enemy lines, and let's hope that I'm alive to record on Wednesday. You know, with these Grizz fans banging down my door right now. I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but thank you to all the podcasts out there. Thanks for everybody who's been supporting us throughout this entire thing. We really appreciate all the listens, everybody who's been really positive with this and really helping us out a lot. And nobody's been super negative, and we really appreciate that.
yeah, and man, I love when people reach out. That's the best part of this whole thing. I absolutely love that. So even if you have like any comment, or if you want something, want us to talk about something, you shout it out in whatever form you can find, and let us talk about it because we're all about it.
Comments, DMs, anything, we will respond for sure.
And to end, as always, a 5-star review would be fantastic. Helps out a lot.
Oh, thank you so much for those 5 stars. The 10 people who gave them to us already. Yeah. We're trying to get
Yeah.
into the triple digits on those 5 stars. You know, we're still in double digits there.
Well,
All right. Thank you, everybody. I think we're going to end it there. Hope everybody has a beautiful week and we get to enjoy another great Catter Day next week against Eastern Washington.
yeah, we'll chat at you later.